Hello everyone, welcome in. Today should be a fun stream. We will be coding some things. More importantly, we will be moving this PR to a finished state. So, November of last year, the work was started and we've been working on it. Good work. There's been some back and forth. There's been some feedback, and this thing needs to pass the finish line. So, that is what we'll be doing today, is that we will be finishing this. I need to probably make sure that I can see you guys and I can see chat. We got someone online, but let me see. Chat. There we go. Nice. Let's put chat right there. There we go. Hello, welcome in. So, why don't I use get work trees in order to resolve this? And so from what I remember, the last conversation that we had, I'm going to catch myself up as we look at this. We moved all this. So he's got a branch. I should be able to check out the PR. So this is 195, and I can show off how I typically manage this. So I think we should just finish with this. All right, so GH PR checkout 195. We have to resolve a get conflict. This v2. We're cloning now. This should be fun. So where are we at now? I should probably be able to sesh TUI get. So URL com dir. And this get main work tree is the new thing, right? Great. It shouldn't matter. So head is what's coming in. Right. We've got two clones. And it looks like they just overlapped. And that's all right. That's what happens. Out and air. Out and air. Great. I think that's it. Oh, we got more. That's all right. So now the question is, do I rebase all the commits? No. We're going to do a merge commit strategy. I think the obvious one is just this rebase false, right? All right, so now this should give me a single merge commit. Yeah, so this is what we want. This just goes away, right? Yep, that's it. What's going on, people? We got some people that just came in. Welcome. Feel free to say hi. We are rebasing, and then we are working our way to improve Git root detection logic. So most of the work's been done. I am doing a little open source public development to get this thing past, what's going on, Seth? Past the finish line. Should be fun. It's funny, sometimes development is just getting that like final 10% of something done and working. And so I'm hoping this will be less than an hour, maybe. There's always other things we can move on to if we're still here. But I have to make sure I fully grasp where he was at versus what I kind of need changed to finish this feature out. And so what you'll notice is if I go up here to the root, you'll see this thing that's called .bear. So .bear is a non-default way of assigning work trees to a folder. And the idea is that you can drop all of the Git specific data into a .bear repository, into that directory, and then assign the Git config to the .bear. It's a little bit funky, but the short of it is that's the way that I originally do Git work trees when I initially set them up. However, I'm learning that other people don't set it up that way. And so we want Sesh to be able to determine work trees appropriately with a more traditional pattern, which is just cloning directly to the folder and having your .git just be in the style of a bear work tree, basically, and no .bear. And so you actually see, if we go to .bear, like this is all the Git stuff that you'd expect to see anyway. And then if we list .git, actually, let's just go there and look at it. You'll see it's basically the same stuff, right? And so it's just a little bit funky. Sesh, let's go back. So it's a little bit weird trying to go through all this back and forth with all of you right now. But the short of it is I have found a fairly simple solution that will allow us to handle both .bear folder syntax, methodology, and a traditional just cloning to an empty folder and then assigning it as a work tree or using work trees as a feature set. And so, yeah, it should just work once we finish. So let me make sure I get this right. So these are all outdated. We go back and forth. Maybe my comments are out of date. I'm looking at the code, right? And these are the breaking changes that I need fixed. So we need to make sure that we call these values correctly. When calling sesh root in a work tree, we need the root to be the work tree folder, not the place where the bear work tree is installed. So that's the distinguishing factor here. And let's see. I probably need to scan over the diff as well. And I can show you gh dash. By the way, my friend Dolev, who runs the gh dash project, just launched a Discord. So if you want to kind of be surrounded around this gh dash stuff that's happening, do check that out. And so I'm involved in this one. We can open it with a tool called Octo. And then if I want to, I can resume. Is it going to be resuming a review? No, I'm going to start a review. And that will open it up for me. You guys will hopefully be able to see this. So we have this new work tree list command. Get work tree list. Let's verify that. So it will show me the placement of the bear. There's a bear. And then it lists all of the available work tree entities, entries that are on this computer. So this one is percentage bear is kind of the identifier. And if I remember right, I'm going to try, I think this one, I also set up bear. This has been in limbo for so long that I haven't decided to move away from the .bear yet. However, we could maybe do that today. So I also have, maybe we should just Sesh connect C. All right. These are the projects I currently have on my computer. Feel free to snoop. I see people snooping. All right, so the OC was what? OC, OB, RE. I think it's RE. Yeah, so RE should be good to test. So RE is for React extensions. It's just shorthand. And if we do get work tree list, we're going to see that it's not .bear. We're going to see that it's /re. So the difference between these two, if we go to this guy, we'll just close all this out. So the difference between these two, as you'll see, is that one has no extension on top and the other has a folder identified. So really the way that we're going to identify this is looking at bear /re is the base. And in this case, .bear is not the base, or not, yeah, it's not the base, right? What we want to find as a base is the place where all of these entities have a shared directory. So for me, that's ultimately the end result, is that we want a shared folder to identify, hey, this is the root. And as soon as we can recognize that, it doesn't matter if I name this .bear or .worktree or whatever I want. So I'm trying to future-proof this feature so that people that have their own conventions, we can still find the bear worktree, assuming that people do the bear checkout. So probably the other thing that's worth looking into is, like, if I was to go to my website, I have this weird bug. All right, so if I go here, we're going to see that I have a main branch. And if I get worktree add extra, we're going to have a new folder called extra. Oh, and my worktree list won't have a bear. So I think ultimately with the worktree list, I probably could parse all of the directories and find the common denominator, if this is the case. Because you should be able to use worktrees like this, extra. And if we were to connect to extra, it's a worktree of the Josh Medeski project. So we want Sesh to name it joshmedeski.com/extra, right? That's sort of the convention that I'm going for. And I'd like to keep that convention because I want Sesh to be opinionated. And in this case, I don't think extra is a very good session name. Extra is just an identifier on top of a project, right? So extra is a worktree that lives on my website's Git project. So what we realistically should do, I'm now that I'm looking at this, it might take more time than I originally thought, but we'll make sure that we do it the right way. We've got unit testing that we can use to make sure this is all, working the way that we need it to. So before I start really coding, feel free to ask questions. I am curious from any of you, is my volume good? Is it too loud? Is it too quiet? because I have been meaning to make sure things are okay this time around. Last live stream, it was a little quiet. So, any questions? Let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to dig into this. So realistically, I want my Git. I don't even know how much of his code we want to mess with, if that makes sense. Oh, that's so interesting, Jonathan. So can you give me a brief example of what you mean by above? What do you mean by above? Because I do want to consider, all these things. Because I think above like the parent, but typically work trees are added to the, the root of the what was cloned, the thing that's been cloned. But to my knowledge, you can add work trees anywhere. So realistically, all I'm going to end up doing is calling get work tree list on the thing, on the session that you're asking for, and then determining its name based off of the context that's provided back through it's just logic. This is all written in Go for those that haven't been around for this. So yeah, let me know, but I'm going to do my best to work through this now. So we should have diffs here. Get work tree list. I feel like the commander is still useful. And then get root. Oh, this is mocks. We don't care about that. Bear, parse bear from work tree list. So he has a namer on bear. That's where our unit tests will go. That's where his tests are. So we're going to start off of that. And then he's going to swap out what we had before for the work tree lists, parsing it to get the bear root. And then our namer test, he's just doing some cleanup. Great. So I guess ultimately, if I'm not using the commander strategy anymore, where does he ultimately call this? Okay, he does call it here. Great. So let's mock get. Let's go ahead and find that. No, I think it's ultimately removed from the merge commit we just made. So we have his bear go. We return nothing with an error. Bear root. If it has suffix, the bear root is that. Okay, so this is where we just start pulling all this apart. Let's pull it apart. So we have our tests. Something like this. Something like this, yes. Is his test already doing this? Oh. Do these not work? Let's make build. Actually, Dirter. All right, so he's saying get commander. This should have it, right? Get commander. So, oh, where is it? I kind of don't want to repeat myself here. Oh, I need to check out improve Sesh logic. We are checked out. Did I remove it? That's the question. So Commander isn't here? Why? Oh, we're not using that anymore. So this should have been dropped, changed, get bare root dir. You would go up a directory. That's interesting. So path to root, the work tree is in path feature name. Yeah. I think I understand, but we will see. If you're hanging out, Jonathan, on your phone, that's cool. Thanks for being here on your phone. Look, we can go bigger. Although I lose a little screen, don't I? I will do my best to implement it, and if we run into an issue, then we run into an issue. So ultimately, I think that this needs moved. From what I remember, he's got the Git project doing this work tree list thing. I could use Commander. I don't know why it ultimately got removed. Maybe I'll just put it back. So we have get Commander. It's like rev parse show top level. So it's like rev parse show top level. There we go. So rev parse show top level, rev parse show top level. I don't love this implementation, but it should be fine. We're not doing Commander anymore. We are putting that there. And what is this? Show top level is missing? Oh, that's funny. That's what it used to be called. So we need these. Show top level and get. All right, let's start with that. What's up, Marcos? We're working on Sesh again. Marcos, I don't know if you were here for last stream, but look at my file. It's like smart, so it shows the folder path after in like a less bright color, and then it shows git diff stuff per file. It even shows LSP stuff. This was the last stream for those that were around. Change to mono. I'm in mono. I'm sending only left side. What do you mean? Yeah, it looks fine. Oh, now I'm Losing my spot. All right. So for now, let's just get Commander. Let's just keep this the way it is. Left sound channel. Oh, I see. Oh, I had to change this last time. That's so funny. I've been streaming for a while. Nobody said anything. All right, let's do it. Hopefully you guys like my setup, my streaming setup. It's been a lot better. So what we're going to do is we're going to monoify this. Mono. Better. I don't know why it sends it to one channel. That's so weird. I guess some of you have been using a phone speaker or TV or something, and so you haven't noticed. All right, that should be better. That should have gone away. So for those that have watched me do Sesh development before, my main workflow is just uninstall it. And then it ends up resolving to the go bin path. And I might just go bin sesh, remove it just to verify that when I build that it shows up. So we now know that that is the version of Sesh that we want. Your ears thank you, huh? Evgen, I'm seeing your message too. Thanks for letting me know. No, this is OBS. I have a custom OBS feature. You'll actually see the rounded corners. That's me with my attention to detail. You'll actually see like this is, you know, a virtual display, which is kind of interesting. I can explain it very briefly and we'll keep going. The window that you see here is a virtual desktop, and I send my windows that I want to use using Aerospace to that virtual desktop. And I ultimately, I have a green screen behind me, right? It's like literally green. Let's see, can I show you? Not to confuse you, but I have a literal green screen, got my key lights, got my nice mic, as long as it's set to mono. Yeah, and so it's been working really well. We can move around a little bit now, which has been fun. And yeah, it's been good. And I got a nice little wallpaper just to have something pretty to look at while we work. So Aerospace and just OBS to help me. And for me, any window that's not on that virtual desktop, like right now, I can just open up Google Chrome and I can look at it and I can see how long I've been streaming and chat and views and all of that without like affecting you guys. And I get a general sense of what's going on because my studio display, I use a big 27-inch studio display, is like fully like filling up the entire screen. And I have all the OBS stuff on the sides. And then I have a live view of myself and the display that you guys see with the wallpaper and the positioning of my head and everything. So I get like a good sense of, I have a much better idea of what you guys are seeing now than I used to. So yeah, we're going to kind of go back up here. All right, so we know it's working now. We know we can build. We know we can interact with things. The main piece that I need to work through is the namer. So the namer is going to go through the get bear registry. It's going to look for, I almost don't know if that matters anymore. Part of me thinks that if I do get work tree, I'll always have the naming that I want. But I have to work through what Jonathan was telling me about, which is like the relative work tree stuff. I'd actually need to experiment with that. I've never done that before. All of my work trees live in the place where I have the clone. But I can see that you can work tree add anything to anywhere, right? To my knowledge, you can do that. There's no Tmux for Windows, huh? I mean, are you a PowerShell guy? Because I would recommend WSL anyway. And in that environment, you're going to have Tmux for sure. So, yeah. I mean, if you're in PowerShell or you're having to do Windows specific development, then I guess that makes sense. So let me think this through now. We'll go ahead and close this extra window. The namer is going to loop through the get strategy, and that's a top level thing. So, right. This is my get show top level. So I guess I want to know, how does this command differ? So if I'm here and I get rev parse show top level, and then I go to like ls and I rerun it, it always gives me the root. And then if I'm in like here, you must run this in a work tree because it's a bare work tree specifically. So if it's a non-bare, oh no, that one is bare. Which one did we decide was not bare? The Josh Medeski one. So if I do get rev, what was it? Get rev parse show top level. We're going to get that. And if we go to extra, we're going to get extra. So the main question I guess I have is, should my opinion about how this works, should it just change? Should it just be different? And then I could override it with my own feature set, which was, I believe you can have the parent. I don't know. It starts to get complicated. You can have the parent. Here, let me show you what I do. So like, I might be working on something called plugin template, this guy. So the fact that it starts with OB is my bare work tree. It's an incredibly useful identifier for me to know that this is the Obsidian mono repo. I don't really know anything's a mono repo if it's just main slash plugin slash blah, blah, blah. And I ultimately wouldn't want to muddy up my work tree names with like prefixing things. I guess that could work too. So then ultimately, let's see. If I go to like source components and I do get rev parse show top level, it gives me what I want. And if I list work tree, it does show me that. So let's go to Jonathan's example, get work tree. Am I correct in assuming, Jonathan, this is how it works? You would say, you would call it like this, because then it's not here, right? It's here. I have additional get work tree lists, right? And so if I additional do this and I do get work tree list, there's not a common denominator anymore. I don't know how to work around that. I think we'd have to ultimately say that /c is like the root. I don't know what folder you're putting in. What is the name of the folder that that work tree item lives in, right? This is like specific, really specific to my workflow. I think we can get away with avoiding bare and finding a common denominator, but I don't know like get work tree list, it's going to list that other item. Very interesting. So it probably still works as I expect. If I'm assuming for now that unless someone reaches out and goes, hey, I don't like the way Sesh works, I want it to work different, we could change it. But in this situation, the C is the common denominator, right? So that ultimately is the correct thing. So if I go to extra, it's going to be c/joshbrodesky.com/extra. And if I go to additional website work tree, it's going to go c/that name. And if I do just joshbrodesky.com, it's going to, of course, just resolve to c/ and then the website. So I probably will do that for now. What I am curious about is, do I still have C open? No. Sesh connect C. So with this guy, if I go into like GH dash, right, it's just a, let's pull in the latest. I bet he's done a lot since I've last checked out the code. Oh. Get work tree list. It lists it. So if there's only one entry, it'll be the last folder, right? And if there's multiple entries, I think that's what I'm going to do. If there's multiple entries, find the common denominator, because every Git project can run work tree list. That's just true. So let's plan for that. And I'm just going to develop it. Let's just move forward and I'll just implement this feature. So what we're saying is that I can work tree list, and then the namer has a simple Git name. Actually, let's leave it for now. So what we're saying is actually, we'll just rename this Git test. Cool. So if that's Git, we're going to say all of them are the same. I kind of like this, chat. So why don't we just start here? Marcos, I'm realizing I totally spaced out on you. Corporate laptop. Oh, dude, then you're like super limited, aren't you? Can only get NeoVim. Dang. Yeah, I mean, you're probably just limited with your tools. I would use like, this may sound crazy, I would just use a code editor at that point. I don't know what like NeoVim with limited plugins allows, because some of the plugins, like the one I'm using right now for file picking, I need Rust and I have to build the plugin using Rust. They don't have binaries, so you can't do stuff like that, right? So that'd be interesting to figure out. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close NeoVim. my get namer is going to do I could resolve by the worktree path through the .git directory in the repo itself. Interesting. Do you know what kind of command has to be ran in order to do that? Because I'm right now passing get worktree list as a command on a directory to get the result. I don't know where the .git is, right? I don't even know if there is one. So I don't necessarily at this point want to do file detection, like find a .git potentially recursively and then do something else. Like it gets really kind of crazy really fast in trying to do like traversal. So I tend to avoid that sort of workflow. Well, let me know. You've been really helpful so far. So we're going to say like get, we're just going to say get, so we have a relative path. Yeah, all this just goes away. And I don't really need to return an error here. If it doesn't work, I typically just ignore it. Because ultimately this will be called, and if something goes wrong, we move on to the next strategy for naming. And so we just kind of don't care. Although that tends to be done in the naming strategy, right? If error name strategy, if error is not nil, then we return the, okay, so I can deal with it somewhere else. And then the root name, when do I use this? Namer, root name. I'm not using this. Oh, I think I use, I don't understand why it's not showing the root command. Yeah. So in the root command, I have to name it, which is interesting. I still need the root command to work. So in the case of what we talked about, I think the common denominator is the root. So I think that will be fine to get the get root, basically. But that means that we need the namer to give me a split response. Dang, this is where it gets tricky. We're going to evaluate the symlinks, and then we originally in the other project, the namer, we'll see that we said get bear name, and then it gets the bear name, and then get dir name, it gets the dir name. All right. With this one, we have the get root name. So I will need to keep this. We actually need to keep this. Yeah, we're gonna have to keep this, and that's fine. Let's import this. We're not using that. So root name still is useful. Show top level. It would be interesting to figure out what in that weird scenario that I talked about that we've been working on with Jonathan, that scenario, I wonder what get work tree, the top level command gives me. I wonder what that is. You resolve the work tree, right? Rev parse commander. I think that commander is something I've used before. We've been using that for other things already. All right, let's go back to main. Let's go to get. It's this commandeer. Yeah, see commandeer. So I've been using that in the past. It's been useful for me for other things. So if I get commandeer on this guy, if I like go into this and I get rev, what did we say? Get rev parse get commandeer. Wait, get commandeer. It gives me that. So it gives you the original destination. I wouldn't argue that. Would it make sense? It wouldn't make sense to me, but would it make sense for the results to be joshmedeski.com/additional website worktree? Would that be the name of the session? Because that would be misleading to me. I don't personally like moving my work trees to outside of the folder I'm in, like where the repository lives. I get what you're doing, but I don't do that. So would this session name be good, or would it be misleading? Well, so Evgen has a good question. Why am I trying to solve? What am I trying to solve? Would get work tree list be enough? It would if. So there's our commandeer. Let's go back to our get work tree list. It works if there's a common denominator, but there's not here. So this, I guess C is the common denominator. At some point, if you moved it somewhere else, it could be joshmedeski. That could be the common denominator. That's probably the trick here, is making sure that we should probably just do it once and then play around with this as a secondhand problem. So that's that. It's a fair question. Could be a bunny trail. So my namer will need get root name. I'm going to probably leave that alone for now, because what happens is we build this namer go 22. Right. Build path from, commandeer to path. That's the idea. So we're like trimming the fat. Once we have what we want, we're going to go, okay, everything before this, we don't want. So I say we just do it. So my get test. The real thing will be like get work tree paths and what this work tree list is going to work tree list is just going to dump output. So I need to take that. Right. Yes. So we're going to take this. If it's get and work tree is not string, then we should parse it. but the parsing doesn't exist yet. So we're going to say, I don't need to do all that here. I just want to do it. So it's going to be something like, splitting by line, right? Part of each line. I guess we're gonna, what is it? How are we printing work tree lists? Sure. So the get name is going to list the work trees, and then our work tree paths we need to test for. And we need what? How do I actually call work tree list? Parse. All right, did he do this already? Interesting, Jonathan. Yeah, thanks for clarifying. So you don't do this, but some people do. All right, well, if those some people show up in my life and discuss something on the open source project, I'm happy to work with them. But I think for now, I'm going to not overthink this feature. And if you're putting it somewhere else, then let's find the common denominator and use that as the base. And if you don't like that behavior, you should reach out and tell me and we figure it out. Because I've had a lot of back and forth with people and I tend to tell them just to keep it simple. So this idea of putting work trees outside of the repository could probably get out of hand really fast depending on the strategies they have. So interesting. But I spin up work trees all the time. Yeah, like an ad hoc work tree. Yeah, I do that constantly. Reviewing a branch or anything like that. But for me, ultimately, my bare work tree works well for me because I don't, and then I have one called main that holds everything in it from the main branch so that I don't have to like see all of the project and then there be a few extra folders that are work trees. It's kind of weird. Let's see. So this is the parse. And we're going to parse like this. Namer bare. So namer get is going to have something called parse. And then we'll do that. All right, so let's start with the parser. What is it going to say? Build failed. Oh, well, let's make sure I can build. Oh, I can. Oh, make. Hold on. Mockery. Yeah, we should be mocking. Go test. We probably need to get our mockery stuff to be updated. So I build, but I don't run mockery. All right, that's good to know. So I don't need all that to run. We've got our mocks. Great. Do I have coverage here? I actually want to maybe keep that running in the background. All right. So we're going to end up with that. We're going to end up with that. Parse bare from work tree list. So that's misleading. What we really need it to be, let's close that, is this needs to change. So how much of this should I be committing before we move forward? So these are that. Bear is going away. All of this kind of needs to stay the same. Let's add commenter get func back. All right, so this is all the same. It's not really changing. We string.fields work tree list. The first field, so this is able to parse it into fields, huh? We're not going to care about the has suffix. All that we care about is work tree list commenter. I think commenter is all that matters. So ultimately, we end up transforming the string. Yeah, so we'll just transform the string. Let's do it. All right, so we're going to not do this. I don't love this. We're going to parse determine commenter from work tree list. Commenter. So this will be the commenter from the lists that we looked at. I'll make it work with the weird example, but it probably will just be a weird experience. So no work tree found. Ooh, I guess we need to, I don't really care about that yet. The bare root is not the first field. I don't care about all this. So we're going to have multiple lines. So we're going to loop through the lines. Nope, don't care about that. All right, so fields, paths. Is that going to be a good start? So we're going to ask for each one. This is a weird way of doing it. No, I don't want to do that. Is it going to be, yeah, so loop through fields. It's like a work tree, right? Each I'm confused and I'm not a good Go developer. This is the fun part about live streaming a programming language I have the least amount of experience in. I do have quite a few, like over a year and a half now, but not full time. I haven't really worked on Sesh in a little while, so I'm still a little bit rusty. So all that really matters is as we loop through each entity, we look for the common dir between two, and then we continue the cycle, and we see if all of the entities share a common dir, right? So in the case of the most common stuff that I'm doing here is like, we have session main. If sesh is called and we get session main, we're going to end up hitting sesh, and that becomes the name. If we hit this guy, right, and we hit sesh main here, we're going to see sesh as the root. The same in the other case, we're going to see sesh as the root. And then in this case, if there's only one entry, we probably have to treat it like a Git project and do the Git top level function that we used previously. So I don't think I can do away with the previous workflow. I think it probably makes sense to keep it, because if there's only one entry, what's the common dir? There's no way to know. I guess the common dir is always going to be the folder that it sees. Man, this is tricky. This is tricky business. So I feel less confident than I did as we stepped into this. So we had git bare work. What do we have? Bare root, show top level. Then we trimmed it. Yeah, so this git name thing is probably really useful still. Sorry, I'm going to make it small for a second. Yeah. So the bare work tree name is the thing that we need to play around with. Maybe it's one of those things that's like, as soon as you list more than one, if you're in the common dir, immediately use it. If you're not, detect it. So that's probably my path through this. So this is the all right, so namer, we have our git name, and I think this is going to be what we transform back into namer name. We've got this bare name, and we've got this git name here. So I am going to go ahead and keep that. Right. So that's coming. And then git name is here. We're probably going to do a git worktree.go. Is it module? Package. All right. So it's going to be func something like list work trees if only one, skip. I think if it's, yeah, if multiple C find common dir. So now the question is, can I just call the common dir always? Do I need to actually call? Once I know there are work trees, can I just say find common dir? So with the bare specific logic, I was trying to get the parent, like the root directory, included in the name. And I would like to keep that, like right now, sesh/main. That's my workflow. So I don't really want to change that behavior, which means that previously what we were doing is we were looking specifically for bare and saying, in that case, when you do that, you will name it this way. And there's something to keeping that and leaving it as the beginning. However, what isn't being solved for and if we can see, this was, I believe, tied. The sesh readme says the sesh root assumes that bare folder. Not everyone uses get work trees that way. For example, if I do this, it leaves me with a messy project folder. So I end up with .git, right? Right. So what ends up happening is we probably could just solve this with a bare work tree, but it not be yes. This is his specific problem. We'll probably just solve for this directly. So the bare name comes from a bare folder, and in the case where that's interesting. So realistically, I'm just looking for a way to fix his specific problem. We know it's always the first entity. So if the first entity is bare, but we hadn't found the dot bare, we can use that convention. I think I've blown it up personally. I think I've blown this up because of my .bare folder. Because for those that don't know, it shows up this way. So let's go back. Namer. Oh, we're still in TUI, my bad. So it shows up like this, .bare. So my only thought for now is go to worktree, list it. If the list shows bare, then use that. And if it's got .bare in the convention, then trim that. Hey, that's not crazy talk. I think that would be reasonable. So if anyone does use the .bare convention, they can. More importantly, I'm talking out loud here. If I don't use .bare, I want to use something else like .wtf, that could work. You could just go to the config file and say, these are some of the bare folder names that I like to use. And you can say, these are the ones I like to use. And maybe even my example, I could include the .bare as a way to prove my point. Maybe I don't configure it. But I think not to get ahead of myself, I think the configuration comes later. So let's do that. So the bearer stuff is still going to happen. So instead of doing it this way, we're not getting commandeer and listing if it has a suffix. We are specifically going to get work tree list and see if bear shows up as an entity on the first entry. Bleh, that's a mouthful. So that's fine. Strip after the last slash and replace with the work tree name. Well, it's more the methodology around Sesh for me is anytime I see a Sesh config, sometimes I overwrite certain configs to be named, but like 90% of my sessions are places on my computer. So when I see Sesh/TUI, I know that there's /C is all of my code folders. /TUI is a place on my computer that I'm really familiar with. So for me, Sesh is typically driven by a folder. So when you look at it, I want you to see a folder. So I need to play around with that a little bit, but let's just make sure I get my stream of consciousness here written down. List work trees. Grab first entry. It's more like determine if first entry is bear. That's the idea. And literally, if that's not true, then return nil. We're gonna have a path here, so let's just do that. So this is list. Oh, we're still in 2e. All right. Let's get out of that. So this is a work tree. So we have our get. Right. Let's start at the top. Namer. So namer is going to name things. We are going to name based off of strategy. So we're going to say get bear. A bear work tree is a specific workflow. That's it. If the bear work tree isn't being used, we fall back to the get name. And that's it. That's exactly what we're doing. So is that this guy? So this becomes bear. Change till underscore bear. So we're going to test get bear name. So why don't we say determine bear work tree, and it's going to be one of those I'm thinking this through right now. Oh boy, am I thinking this through. Okay. I think this is right. I think that we're on the right path here, and I think that we're going to get it working. So we're going to basically list work trees. So this is the going to return bool, string, or error, I guess. Yes. Delete those. So this won't be so different than what worktree did. It's going to be false string nil, right? And we're going to say worktree list. Does this actually error out? Two variables. Oh, I can only return one. What is it? Bool string. Oh, is it worktree list? Get worktree. We return true if is, yeah. So I'm doing the same thing here. Like, it's just not a get. We're just going to consider this not get if that happens. Great. If let's just do that. And then if worktree list, what do we ended up doing? We parsed. Let's go back. We parsed. What did we parse? We parsed the work tree. Why don't I have this? I see. So I just need let's close this guy. Man, I'm so close here. I'm just a little bit mixed up, aren't I? We're splitting this, right? So if the work tree list is not empty, all right, so then we're going to say backseat driving, you're funny. Dude, sweet, Jonathan. Yeah, I'm glad you're using Sesh. Yeah, project/thing. Yeah, that's how I... Do you always use get work tree, like bear work trees with the .bear folder? Because if you're doing that, then you're like where I'm at. So I haven't really been impacted too dramatically from this. But doing this the right way so that bear work trees are always determined correctly, it's going to be good. Like, it's going to be good for people that don't want to do the .bear thing. but still do git clone, dash dash bear. You've been using this language for a long time. That's good to know. So, Jonathan, if you're not on my Discord server, you should totally join. And if you are, you should DM me. You use .git. So the way that the project names things with Sesh will change when I implement this feature. What should happen is the bear work tree should act as the beginning of the session name. Maybe some people don't want that, but I think it's incredibly useful that that is the beginning of the thing. And for me, when I use git work, when I use the git root command, to me, the root is the work tree root, not the project that I'm in root, like the work tree that I'm in's root. They're very different things. Because for me in monorepo world, actually git root, that's not true. Git root is the root of the work tree that you're in. But with the naming convention, I want it to be different on purpose. Cool. Well, anyway, what I was going to say, Jonathan, is if you're still around, feel free to hang. But if you all decide you want to give me code review or help, you can get involved in GitHub. So you don't have to post your GitHub here on chat. But if you go to Discord, reach out and we'll chat. It shouldn't be that much longer. The naming should be similar. It should just include one folder up to show you like this bear work tree is part of the name so that you have a sense of where the work tree exists, right? Because your named work trees are probably maybe feature driven or branch driven or something. So that'll be the change. Verify the first entry is bear, return true, return the bear. Yeah. So it's like I need to determine get bear work tree path. Let's call that this. So it's not the list itself. The path will call the thing, and the thing will, I guess that's what he's doing here, isn't he? So we're not going to do this. We're going to end up with like a string. What is this? This is a string. All right. So if we call this a string, it'll be the out. Right. And it'll just be like, I guess it's like not is git, but is bear. Is bear. So we're going to have this string. Let's just start with the simples. Simple stuff. So we're going to say yeah. I feel like AI would probably get this done for me faster. Cool. Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, I look forward to hearing from you. And that goes for everybody listening. I mean, I'm, pretty plugged into Discord. So if you join the Discord server, you can just go to joshmedesky.com. That's me. And you can click a little Discord button and it sends you to the invite and it puts you into the portal. And I usually say hello to the people that join in. But yeah, you can always message me there, or you can just DM me, and I usually respond within a reasonable amount of time, especially if I'm expecting it. So this is determining, and the determining means I have that thing, and I want to determine if it's is bare path, and then an error. So we're going to say this is bare, and then that is the bare path. Out. Oh, I could have done that better. Out. All right, so should find the bare path for standard. Bare clone. So this guy returns bool string error. What is it saying? Errors imported and not used. Fine. And then I'm going to assume that this guy is missing something important. Yes. All right. So let's just start with the basics. Get, what is this? Why does it matter? Why does Go always say, if I can't build, then I'm not going to play nice? Namer.test Go get. So we're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to do that anymore. The root name is going to be get root.go. Get root.go. Package namer. I remembered. Formatter, please. So that's get. Remove that. We can build, which means we should be able to test. And then what does it say? Determining. Right. So this is just going to take an argument of out. It should fail because the assertions should be wrong. So let's implement it. Should we just hit Command A? Get bare test. Implement. We're just going to do build agent, parses the string, gets the first line and finds bare, then returns true and the path first line before bare. So I'm using open code. I found that it's pretty good. Not perfect, but There we go. String.fields, grab thing, do thing. It's going to run my test for me. Perfect. Implementation correct. So what should have been failing should now pass. Hey, that feels pretty good. Is it staging things? Why is it staging things? No, it's not staging things. It's just my lines. Okay. So ranging over this is more specific. Interesting. You're right. Let's absolutely do that. You gotta love you gotta love the way they respond. Okay, nice. So that's amazing. All right, that actually felt kind of good. So that's the idea. We're returning that part. That part is this. With the namer, I need to transform the path, and then I need in the case of like calling something, I probably need the commender, and then I need to smush together where's the common denominator, where's the commender, and merge those things together. So that's the tricky part. So, all right, so that's that. We also, they should be for dot bear clone for bear clone to dot bear folder. So that becomes this. I'd actually expect this to fail, right? Because why does this always happen? I should be able to look at this, right? Why is it all cut off? There we go. It's so weird that it's cut off. Yeah, so that's wrong. So what we're going to do is look for this has suffix, trim suffix if has suffix, and then use it. So that is an AI thing? No. Come on, Josh, you can do it. You can do it, man. You can do it. So that's going to be our thing. We're going to say if parts, okay, so this is actually our part. So this is going to be the path. If path has that, then we're going to trim path, and we're going to return true trimmed path nil, else return true parts. Yeah. So this is path, 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 trimmed path, and that means that this should pass. Very nice. Very nice. How much? So that's just the first part of this feature, right? We've just now solved for the problems we were having at the beginning, which is people will bear clone in different ways. I think the main thing to note here is to do move bear folder naming convention to configuration? Question mark? Maybe? All right, so that's the first step. Feeling good about this now. Now that we've determined it and it exists, unreachable code. No. Right. if trim do that, else that. Now we need to actually call the function. So we're going to determine it. We're just going to determine it. So determine directory path. If that, that. I think that's fine. Get work tree. This is just path, right? Great. So that's all of that. That's working as I expect. We're building okay. This might be my code coverage, actually. So if I was to go to some random place in my computer, like downloads, and I list, it's going to say fatal, not a Git repository. And to my knowledge, we're gonna see get work tree list. It's just basically going to be path is out. So what we actually need to do is call this out work tree list path. What is this bool? What do I actually call here? Do I call all this ahead of time? Maybe I do. Get work tree list. That's right. So if we call this and it doesn't work, we get a bool early. So just because we've determined that the command can run, yeah, so this is already happening. So we may want to simplify this. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to continue. Is that right? Oh, trim white space. Interesting. If the line is empty, return no. Right? Maybe. Return no. Yeah, I think I prefer this. So this will be work tree list is get. Then we have our list and our error. And then if it's not get, we're going to also do that. And then this is going to only give me 2. Do I ever return an error? I think for now, for the lines, do I actually want to do this for every line? Yeah, I do. Okay. It's not really that. We're saying if we get an error, And we return it. Am I ever calling an error? I don't think I am. I think they're all nil. So how about we do a simple, like, if... My main thought is that if it's an empty string or list is empty. No, that's not where we go. We go here. If bare path is an empty thing, then we say, hey, it just isn't anything. I always find it interesting with Go that the happy path is like sometimes the last thing. You're like, if error, if not thing, if error. Like, and I do this, and I use a lot of TypeScript in the day job. So I do like this pattern. I just find it interesting the more that I write it. So that is step one. So get bare work tree path is part of the namer, right? So let me go back to my namer and figure out the pattern. So the strategy is call the guy, get bare name. Yeah. So call it, string or error, hit the strategy. If nil, if error, throw. If name isn't empty, validate. And is all my strategies are returning strings and errors. Yeah. So if their string is not empty, do the thing. Right. And then it loops through the next strategy. That's right. So that's my get bare name. Get bare name is going to get the bare path. The relative path is that. The base is the base. I say we just build this sucker, use it, sesh main, and it uses main ls. Okay, so that's wrong. That's not what we want. So I literally just need to, let's see. Is it any of this necessary? I guess it's doing this. Getting the bare work tree path is the dependency. The dependency. And then we determine based off of the value that was gotten. Fine, fine. And then we need to test. So it's like implement a new test for the function. Might be enough just to get us started. So editor, let's do that. And then these change, right? It's just returning a path now. Oh. Load file. It's gonna probably error out. Return just a string. I need to update the tests. Great. I was about to do that. Do you think my Vim skills are faster than the AI tool transformation? Right. Great. So it passed the test. Let's see if the test is any good. I think I'm going to go a little smaller here. So now we have, what do we have? Determining the bare work tree path. I kind of want a different test. If bare ever shows up in a different line, some malware line without proper content, that's funny. That's funny. So I actually want now to look for this. It didn't even test it. Damn it. It didn't test it at all. That's what I get. That's what I get. So we're going to turn that sucker on. Oh, now did I not build when I tested it last? Let's, I don't know. Let's like close this and main. Oh, main. Oh, main. Oh, main plugins, this thing. Yes, that's actually correct. And then I love how poor this is, Sesh. Dang, what was the Sesh. Sesh? That's right. Was this my guy that... Yeah, this is my guy. So it's working. It's working. Chat, it's working. Do we... Oh, that's not what I wanted. I want this. Ah! That's what I need. That's the feature. We can make this better. No, yeah, that won't work. Let's go back to Sesh main. So root has been separated. Git has been purged, cleaned up. The bear is now a new strategy with unit tests, but I would like to test the unit tests. Not test the unit test, test the thing that I was worried about, which was like the, when we detect something, is it going to assign it correctly? But I guess we'll start with this. All right, so we're going to git work git bear convention to use from work tree list. So restruct adjust modules, just adjust test unit test. I wanted to add unit tests, I think is what I meant to say. I hope that we all test our unit tests. That is a very important step in testing, is to do the test. All right, so then that means, here, let's watch this. Ooh. Do we like that? No, we don't like that. So I'm going to break apart namer package into pieces, add logic to determine bear path name from work tree list command, add tests for determining logic, separate root function into separate what are files in a package called in Go. Modules? Is module the right word? Source file. All right, so we're going to say into separate source file. Trim unused code. All right. All right. So we're going to get push origin. Did he have an issue for this? I don't think he did. That's all right. I think I'm going to end up ultimately doing an in favor of thing. So what do we want to call this? Get bear namer. Origin, get push origin. What? What? What is this? What is this? Don't understand. Get bear namer does not match any. I'm pushing it for the first time. Oh, I see. How about I name it? Get bear namer. Namer. All right, so this is this guy, Jesse. Big fan of Jesse. He's been super great. He just has a busy life, and that's all right. That's what open source is all about, is letting other people take over, right? So, in favor of, is in favor of? All right. So this is the feature. I'm feeling pretty good about this. I'm sure that some testing will need done, and I have some more features that I'd like to build. And it's only Tuesday, at least on this side of the world in the US. So I hope to stream Thursday, which would be fun. We got this done. I'm feeling good. I'm going to get this up and into the cloud and get it to run, and I might end up deploying something. My brain has been spinning with ideas, and there are some really cool features that I hope to build. I don't know how much to tease today right now, but it should be interesting. One of them is I kind of want Sesh to be able to execute custom commands without actually executing on a session. And so what I mean by that is it may be that a session connect entry is for a tmux pop-up. So maybe you choose an entry like, hey, I want to, pick something from my lazy Vim plugins. Maybe I want to pick a project. The way that I do it right now is I say lazy plugins, and then I create this kind of like temporary session. And then if I pick like dropbar, right, and I choose it, the session goes away. And so the session isn't there. The lazy plugin one, it self exits once it's done doing its job. It's a kind of a hack, in my opinion. It feels weird. It's like, this isn't really what we're supposed to be doing. And so my thought is like thinking about Raycast, where they like say that I can ask for notifications. And when I hit this command, it pulls up another list of things. And so my thought is that perhaps I will kind of influence this fuzzy finding workflow to allow you to enter into another entry, but without having to like create a tmux session on behalf of what's happening, right? It's kind of a weird thing. But I think for me, this will add some productivity gains and maybe avoid me having to do the TUI work right now. I want to keep working on a TUI, but we're not there yet. Like there's a long way to go for that to happen. And so to keep this sort of nimble and modular, I can do this like Sesh connect to a separate command rather than a session. It's a little bit misleading. I have to make sure as I start implementing it if it's worth the trade-off, because at the end of the day, that's not a Sesh session feature, right? That's like its own thing. So we'll see. The wildcard feature was really great. I miss it dearly. So that may be Thursday's stream, is that I take the code that I wrote to do the wildcard logic, and I bring it up to date like we did today, and I iron out any details and kinks, and I ship that feature because that feature is incredibly helpful to me, and I miss having it. So the wildcard is like you can configure something off of like a whole set of folders. So in this case, it's common for me to use the git work tree. So instead of saying this is the work tree configuration, I say for every entry that's in this folder, you're going to do the same thing. And then the other idea I have that I might explore soon is the idea of like figuring out if we can create an entry file for a Sesh Connect without the need for someone to have to manually add configurations to Sesh. Like you have to go in and make a custom config, right? Like Sesh config, and you have to go in here and you have to add an entry. So my thought is like with, I think the Tmux one is a good example. With this one, is there a way that I can say, if I hit this path, then this is the entry file. This is the entry file. And the entry file can be on startup opened, and in preview mode, you assign this. So my thought is like, can I take this idea and Hammer Spoon and Ghosty and Carabiner and all these different places where this kind of pattern lives, can I simplify it? Or at the very least, can I create a sort of shareable thing that people can pull from a library and paste it into their configs and use it? Perhaps that's a middle ground. But there's things like readmes. Maybe the .readme file, if exists, should always be the default preview. That can be done without the need for any sort of configuration. That could just be default behavior. Instead of LSing or whatever your command is, first check for that file and use that instead. So I have ideas like that. I'm excited to play around with it and see what happens, but that's what is on my mind for what might be next for Sesh. And then there's quality of life stuff that people have been creating tickets for that I just haven't taken the time to complete. Simplified the trim a suffix if it exists. Use the path of the entry as the root. The root? Is that what we called it? So the relative path is the bare path. Bare path is the base, so that's the right terminology, is the base for the name. We actually kept his stuff. Interesting. All right, so let's see. This should run. We'll know here if it's gonna pass, and I might just say, what is Jesse's username? Come on. Oh, weird. Why does it not ask me for a reviewer? Dang. Well, I'll let Jesse know I did the work. And I think he'll be happy due to conflicts. Due to conflicts. Do I have to rebase on this? I might end up taking the work and smushing it down. Could I do that? Git merge brace. Git commander func restructure bear. Add back restructure. Ooh, is that necessary? I don't think we're here yet. It looks like we got a failing test. So I'll have to do my due diligence here, and I probably have to undo something. But I think I'm going to call today's live stream a success. It's mostly done. I'll have to do a little bit of cleanup, but I'm happy with the results. And Jonathan, thanks again for giving all that feedback. Evgen, you were cool. Thanks for being around. Marcos, I'll see you around in the Discord, buddy. And hope you guys have a good night or evening or wherever you are. And